It was hailed as one of the most secretive and revolutionary inventions in modern history. Steve Jobs said it could be as big a deal as the PC. The legendary venture capitalist John Doerr predicted it would be bigger than the Internet, investing $80 million to back his claim. He believed it would be the fastest company in history to reach $1 billion in sales. This was a machine so revolutionary, its creators believed cities themselves would be redesigned around it. It was called the Segway. And it was a colossal failure. Unveiled to the world on Good Morning America in December of 2001, the Segway human transporter was a technological marvel. Invented by the brilliant and prolific Dean Kamen, it was a self-balancing, two-wheeled device that used a complex system of gyroscopes and sensors to mimic human equilibrium. Lean forward, and it would go forward. Stand straight, and it would stop. It was, by all accounts, magic. The hype leading up to its release was unprecedented. A leaked book proposal, codenamed Ginger, had set the tech world on fire with speculation. Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs were personally consulted. The expectations were not just for a new product, but for a new era of personal transportation. Yet, within a few years, the Segway became a cultural punchline. A novelty for mall cops and city tour groups. In 2020, after selling only 140,000 units in nearly 2 decades, production was quietly halted. The revolution never arrived. So how did an invention with this much financial backing, this much technological brilliance, and this much hype fail so spectacularly to change the world? That's the question we're answering today. To understand the Segway's failure, we have to look past the miraculous technology and analyze the series of strategic miscalculations that doomed it from the start. The story of the Segway's failure begins with its hype. Before anyone even knew what it was already a legend. This secrecy was a deliberate marketing strategy. The team behind it, led by Kamen, believed that the sheer awe of the technology would be enough to sell it. They weren't just building a product, they were orchestrating a global reveal. This created a fatal problem. The expectations became impossible to meet. The public imagination ran wild. Was it a hovercraft? A personal jetpack? When the reality was a scooter, albeit a very advanced one, the initial reaction was not awe, but confusion. The hype had created a perception gap. The product was positioned as a revolution on par with the personal computer, but its function felt incremental, like a better scooter. This is a classic marketing trap. Secrecy and hype can generate initial interest, but if the product doesn't deliver on the imagined promise, the fall is swift and brutal. The Segway wasn't just a product, it was a letdown from the moment it was revealed. The second critical failure was the price. The first Segways hit the market at $5,000. In today's money, that's over $8,500. Let's put that in perspective. For $5,000 in 2001, you could buy a decent used car. You could buy a high-end motorcycle. You could buy 10 high-quality bicycles. Who was the target customer for an $5,000 scooter? The creators believed the technology justified the cost. And from an engineering standpoint, it did. The gyroscopic stabilization system was genuinely groundbreaking. But customers don't buy engineering, they buy solutions to their problems. And for the average person, the Segway didn't solve a $5,000 problem. It was too expensive to be a toy for the rich, and it wasn't practical enough to be a transportation solution for the masses. This premium price point immediately relegated the Segway to a tiny, niche market, completely at odds with its mission to revolutionize how everyone on the planet moved. The company predicted sales of 50,000 to 100,000 units in the first year alone. It took them 6 years to sell just 30,000. The price was the first and highest barrier to entry, and most of the world never even considered climbing it. This brings us to the most fundamental flaw in the Segway strategy. It solved a problem that most people didn't have. The core value proposition was to bridge the gap for distances that were too far to walk, but too short to drive. On the surface, this makes sense. But in practice, this market was already served by other, better solutions. Bicycles, public transit, skateboards, or simply walking a bit further were all existing options that were cheaper and more socially integrated. The Segway didn't fit anywhere. On the sidewalk, it was fast and imposing, intimidating pedestrians. Many cities, unsure how to classify it, banned it from sidewalks altogether. On the road, it was dangerously slow and small. It was a vehicle in legal and logistical limbo. Think about its use case. You can't take it into a grocery store. You can't easily carry it up a flight of stairs. It requires a helmet in some places, but you feel silly wearing one. It doesn't offer exercise like a bike or the convenience of a car. This is the classic case of a technology-pushed product, not a market-pulled one. Dean Kamen and his team created a brilliant piece of technology and then went looking for a problem it could solve. True market-defining products do the opposite. They identify a deep customer pain point and then create a solution. The Segway had it backwards. Finally, we have to talk about the way the Segway looked. And more importantly, the way it made its rider look. Standing upright on a two-wheeled platform, gliding silently, made the user stick out. There was an inherent awkwardness to it. Early adopters were often seen as goofy, lazy, or overly ostentatious. It simply wasn't cool. This social cost is a vastly underrated factor in consumer adoption. Products are not just tools, they are extensions of our identity. A stylish car, a sleek smartphone, a classic bicycle, these things say something about us. The Segway, for most people, said something they didn't want to broadcast. It lacked the rebellious cool of a skateboard or the athletic appeal of a bike. It projected an image of tetchy novelty, not practical transport. This social hurdle, combined with the high price and unclear use case, was the final nail in the coffin for its mass-market ambitions. No one wanted to be that Segway person. So when you put all the pieces together, the picture becomes clear. The Segway's failure was not a failure of technology. The engineering was, and still is, brilliant. The aha moment is this: spectacular engineering cannot save a product from a spectacular lack of product-market fit. The creators of the Segway were so mesmerized by their own invention, by the what, that they failed to ask the most important questions. Who is this for? And what problem does this solve for them? They believed the technology was so revolutionary that the world would adapt to it. They thought they could bend the market, and even the infrastructure of cities, to their will. But the market is relentless. It doesn't care how clever your gyroscopes are. It cares about price. It cares about convenience. It cares about solving a real, tangible problem. And it cares about social acceptance. The Segway failed on all of these fronts. It was an answer to a question nobody was asking. The secret isn't that the Segway was a bad invention. The secret is that it was a brilliant invention that was a terrible product. If you feel like you just had a light bulb moment about business strategy, take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to Strategy Unlocked. We post breakdowns like this every week. So what's the ultimate lesson from the Segway saga? It's a powerful reminder that innovation is not just about invention. The world is full of incredible inventions that never became successful products. True innovation happens at the intersection of technological feasibility, customer need, and business viability. The Segway only had the first piece. The story does have an ironic epilogue, however. The core technology that Kamen pioneered, dynamic stabilization, didn't die with the Segway. It lived on, becoming the foundation for the hoverboards that became a viral sensation years later. And more importantly, it paved the way for the electric scooter boom. Companies like Bird and Lime took the core idea of a compact electric vehicle, but they corrected every single one of the Segway's mistakes. They made it affordable through a sharing model. They solved a clear problem: last-mile urban transit. And they made it socially acceptable. It was normal to see dozens of people riding them every day. The technology finally found its product-market fit. The Segway's failure is a masterclass for any innovator, entrepreneur, or leader. It teaches us that you can have the best technology in the world, the biggest names backing you, and all the hype you can manufacture, but if you don't solve a real problem for a real customer at a price they are willing to pay, the market will pass you by without a second glance. If you learn something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?